you know, it could happen to a nicer guy. You know, a lot of people are scared. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna be so undignified. And when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about the 9 New Yorkers that didn't vote for him, okay? No. People are like, he's gonna be so undignified. It's the presidency of the United States. Dude.
All right, let me tell you, Chris Rock didn't just criticize J.D. Vance and Trump. He straight up demolished them. He came in hot, Tim's on, mic in hand, and absolutely no filter. 1 minute, he's tearing apart their policies. The next, he's questioning their whole reason for being. Vance looked like he'd just been told Santa wasn't real. Live on air. And Trump? He looked like he'd been hit by a comedy freight train. Rock turned political talk into a full-on stand-up massacre. And let me tell you, nobody walked off that stage with their pride still in one piece.
We need holy shit. That's how Trump became president. That's exactly what happened. We got rid of bullies. A real bully showed up, and nobody knew how to handle him. Shit. The cast of The Apprentice is running the world. Trump, the daughter, Omarosa, they run the world, man.
Yo, real quick, before we dive in, smash that like button and hit subscribe, cause you ain't gonna wanna miss this. Chris Rock, a dude who's made a living roasting the big shots, went straight for J.D. Vance and Trump. No holds barred. But let's talk about J.D. Vance, man. This guy? He's like that dude at a party who swears he's a music expert, but only knows pop hits and calls himself an indie rock fan because he watched some old TV show. Vance, in his wisdom, thinks he's the voice of the working class, the new face of the forgotten American worker, or whatever slogan he's using this week to cover up the fact he ain't got no original ideas.
Big thing, Trump, man, Trump, man. Trump had a good year, man. Trump survived an assassination attempt. Won the presidency again by winning the popular vote. Was just named Time Man of...
It's wild, right? J.D. Vance, the guy who made a name for himself as the working class hero, the voice of the little guy, is the same dude who ran straight to Stanford to ditch his roots and wrote a book that turned his struggle into a freaking marketing campaign. He's all, I'm from the Rust Belt, dirt poor, and now I'm gonna fight the elite. Except, he is the elite now. A little hypocritical, you think? Yeah, maybe. But hey, if he wasn't so hung up on that pesky thing called integrity, he might actually have a political career that adds up.
I was talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, you know, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, you know, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, you know, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over. But to my Tory friends, I have to say, you guys have got to get a handle on this, but neither here nor there.
J.D. Vance, the legend, the myth, the working class hero. Or at least, that's the image he's trying to sell. You'd almost expect him to be rocking a flannel shirt and carrying a lumberjack kit. But let's dig a little deeper into J.D. Vance's relatable past and his supposed understanding of the working class. Spoiler alert, the guy who claims to speak for the forgotten American worker now spends his time living large with caviar, private jets, and rubbing elbows with the same elite folks he pretends to be fighting.
Trump administration is troubled by reports that some foreign governments are considering tightening the screws on U.S. tech companies with international footprints. Now, America cannot and will not
not accept that, and we think it's a terrible mistake, not just for the United States of America, but for your own countries. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you, and we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with a spirit of openness and...
Yeah, all right. J.D. Vance grew up in a rough neighborhood. He probably ate his fair share of cheap noodles. We'll give him that. But after he got that golden ticket to Stanford, he wrote a book. Basically, look at me, I made it story. So far, so good, right? But here's the kicker. He went from struggling to millionaire, all while pretending he's still the voice of the people. You know, that guy who goes from blue collar to Silicon Valley and doesn't even see the problem? That's J.D. Vance. He sold his own story for fame and fortune, but still thinks he's got the common man on speed dial.
He's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and...
Now, I first met JD back in 2017, about a year after his book, Hillbilly Elegy, became a New York Times bestseller. The book dropped in the middle of the 2016 election cycle. It was JD's personal story of growing up in Appalachia, dealing with grave family turmoil, poverty, societal decay, abuse, family addiction, and eventually his path to a better life.
It's like watching someone turn their biggest weakness into their biggest selling point. The dude who couldn't wait to ditch his roots is now selling his life story for political points. Vance, with his fancy college degree, book deal, and political climb, is still trying to convince you he's just a regular guy fighting for the little people. Except he's not getting his hands dirty. He's eating $500 dinners and giving phony speeches about the middle-class struggle he left behind. This is the ultimate glow-up. The guy who used to eat hot dogs now has a $30 wine collection and probably thinks Aldi is a foreign country. It's like watching the rich kid from private school show up at the reunion going, "Yeah, I totally get what it's like to struggle." You know, the ones who grew up in mansions and never worried about anything except if their Tesla was clean enough for brunch. J.D. Vance is that guy. He's the political version of the kid who never worked a day in his life, but insists he understands struggle because he once worked a weekend at Starbucks. Yeah, J.D. Just like we all believe the CEO who worked their way up from nothing when they had every advantage handed to them.
Rhetoric and in the policy is, we believe in the Trump administration that babies are good, that families are good, and we want to make it easier for young moms and young dads to choose life, to start families, and to bring new life into the world. That's the whole point of our policy. Now,
when do we finally call BS on Vance's whole act? It's one thing to have a rough start, but it's another to pretend you're still struggling after you've left all that behind. Truth is, J.D. Vance's rise is more about self-promotion than some feel-good redemption story. He wrote a book about being poor, but now he's schmoozing with billionaires, pretending he speaks for the working class. The hypocrisy ain't just funny, it's straight-up sad. Let's break this down. Vance talks about economic hardship like he's some blue-collar prophet. The nerve of this guy. He's the ultimate politician, going, "Yeah, I get you," while sipping his $20 ethically sourced coffee. JDS's whole game is to stick to the relatable story. But here's the thing. Nobody relates to a guy who's profiting off the very system he claims to be fighting. Nice try, though.
Americans' economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
Wow, a vice president who is as dumb as he's aggressive. That takes some doing because, Mr. Vice President, that's some random country that's not fought a war. That would be the...
And to add insult to injury, Let's talk about his bromance with Trump. J.D. Vance used to trash Trump publicly, but now he's practically his biggest cheerleader. This is the same dude who's always pushing his working-class hero image, but then he's buddy-buddy with a guy who's the poster child for corporate greed. Vance's flip-flop on Trump is like watching a comedian switch jokes mid-routine. It makes zero sense and leaves everyone confused. So, what's his excuse? Is it just plain political opportunism? A desperate grab for power? Or is he just trying to stay relevant in a Republican Party that's going full-on extreme? Chris Rock, being the comedy legend he is, didn't hold back in dissecting Vance's whole deal. Vance's face probably turned redder than a fire truck after Rock roasted his political history. And don't even get me started on his transformation from humble small-town boy to hardcore conservative senator wannabe. Vance's political career is like a slow-motion train wreck, clumsy, embarrassing, and completely missing the point.
How
because
long
I'm
has
used
it
to just
been?
having them. It's 3 months, right? So he asked me the Monday of the RNC convention, which I think was June 15th. And I really didn't know that morning. I thought that he was probably going to pick me, but I didn't know for sure. Probably 60-40, basically. And so I had no idea. I get the call around 1 o'clock at Milwaukee time at the RNC convention.
But Chris Rock, he ain't just a spectator. He went straight for the kill. He's the kind of comic who throws punches and doesn't give you a second to recover. Watching him tear into Vance is like watching a dog chase a car. You're not sure who's more lost, the dog or the car. Rock ain't just highlighting Vance's personal BS, though. Nah, he's also ripping apart his whole political platform, which, let's be honest, is about as solid as a sandcastle in a hurricane. Vance wants to be the savior of the working class, but his idea of saving them is like offering a thimble of water to someone drowning in a sea of corporate cash. He claims to understand the struggle, but he's so out of touch, you'd think he's running for president of outer space. Rock's one-liners about Vance's gentrification of the working class hit harder than any knockout punch in a boxing match. J.D. Vance is a walking, talking contradiction. He's peddling the working-class struggle while sipping $15 lattes from Whole Foods and plotting with his corporate buddies on how to fix the economy by giving billionaires tax breaks. Classic Vance.
It's a crazy Menendez brothers getting out of jail. Menendez brothers. Yeah, getting out of jail. Just in time to get deported. Trump is gonna deport their ass, you murdering Mexicans. Trump is not.
And let's not forget his cozy relationship with Trump. Rock didn't miss that one either. Let's be real, Vance's whole campaign feels like it's straight out of the Trump playbook, complete with the totally made-up stories about fighting for the little guy and draining the swamp. The problem? Vance's swamp is basically a VIP lounge for political insiders. Now, I'm not saying his transformation from struggling working-class dude to rich politician is a bad career move. I'm just saying it's as believable as Trump running a soup kitchen. Rock's sharp wit came through when he compared Vance's political ambitions to someone who wants to be the life of the party, but shows up with the wrong drinks and zero personality. The sheer lack of authenticity in Vance's whole act is comedy gold, and Rock didn't waste a single joke.
You're running in fear of your own voters. There is nothing America can do for you.
This really was a blistering speech by J.D. Vance. He really came out swinging against some of the U.S.'s closest allies, Great Britain, Germany, and others. This was really a broadside, a scolding of Europe's democracies.
As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to...
If Vance's political career was a movie, it'd be the worst kind of reboot. Same old plot, but the actors forgot their lines and just keep repeating the same stuff, going nowhere. Rock's point? J.D. Vance is a guy with no real message, just a bunch of old ideas repackaged to sound good at first glance. Vance talks about change, but dig a little deeper, and it's the same old power-hungry nonsense in a shiny new wrapper. Sound familiar? But Rock didn't stop there. He pointed out the delicious irony: Vance's constant need to pretend he understands real people while completely ignoring the actual problems they face. Rock's delivery was spot on, showing how Vance's whole political persona is built on the idea that he gets it, while we all watch him fail in real time. The gap between his working-class hero act and his rich guy reality is so huge, it's almost a joke. J.D. Vance ain't just out of touch with voters. He's on a whole different planet.
In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree. Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine. And we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense. The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within.
So, why does Chris Rock's takedown of Vance hit so hard? Because he's not just ripping into the guy, he's exposing the whole damn act. J.D. Vance's political career is built on a total lie, a story that paints him as some kind of hero, when really, he's only interested in keeping his own power, not helping the people he pretends to care about. And the funniest part? Vance is so full of himself, he doesn't even see how obvious his whole game is. And Rock? He's out here telling it like it is, like the comedy genius he is.
Go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power, you should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Let's face the consequences and the reality. If you don't have as much of an investment in the future of this country, maybe you shouldn't get nearly the same voice. Now, people will say, and I'm sure the Atlantic and the Washington Post and all the usual suspects will criticize me.
All right, let's break it down. J.D. Vance is trying to sell himself as the man of the people, but he's really just a puppet for the corporate bigwigs. Chris Rock's roast is so brutal because he doesn't just make fun of Vance, he exposes the whole con. He shows us how Vance has become the very thing he pretends to fight. There's no working-class hero here, just a self-serving politician playing dress-up, pretending to be a champion for the little guy while leaving him in the dust.